The year 2020 is almost over. Many would say thankfully, but it has been a year like none in recent memory.
We will see the number of people diagnosed dramatically increase over the next 4 to 5 days.
Filled with obstacles and issues. This is 2020.
I want justice for him because he was good. No matter what anybody thinks, he was good.
Setting stuff on fire is not the answer to this.
Black Lives Matter!
With the help of some National Guardsmen today, we'll be able to lock down some certain areas.
I am pro-police, but I am anti-bad cop.
I am extremely disturbed and, quite frankly, sickened beyond description.
We're not going to let this happen in our country.
The idea that we stopped counting is totally inaccurate.
With an ongoing pandemic, civil unrest, political and economic struggles, 2020 has been challenging to say the least. But 2021 is right around the corner. So we wanted to talk to some of the newsmakers deeply involved for various reasons and find out what 2020 meant to them and what they hope 2021 can be.
I mean, it's just the land of Oz. It's just been, you never know what to expect day to day. You got a pandemic, you got civil unrest. Seems policing in 2020 was not normal. You know, police were quote unquote the enemy.
2020 was a year of reflection and a year of recalibration, if you will. I mean, for all of us, we had to all sit and ask fundamental questions of what really matters, what do you really believe, what's really important, who is really important.
It's been a year of unknowns, uncertainty, of challenges, of crisis, but I see it as a year of opportunity as well. I mean, it's illuminated or I'd say uplifted so many things that we either already knew but didn't put as much attention on as we should have.
You may not agree with everything they have to say. Listen, you may not even like it, but there's no disputing that you're used to seeing all of them on the front lines of our current issues. Reverend Alan Waller, long known for his activism and community concern. FOP Lodge 5 President John McNesby, a voice for rank and file officers during a challenging time for law enforcement, and our still relatively new Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw, thrust immediately into one issue after another. And for all they faced in community and law enforcement challenges, State Rep Malcolm Kenyatta and City Commissioner Al Schmidt, they were right in the middle of political ones. What's 2020 to you?
So hopefully I'll define it as over. I think 2020 has been full of surprises. In most instances, very bad surprises.
I think the year has been so difficult for so many people in a lot of ways, not just obviously because of the COVID environment and all the rest, but with the general election that we all just voted in not that long ago.
So with different views and constituencies, 2020 meant different things to each of them and many of us, from exploring the challenges of police-community relationships.
Folks are re-energized and saying, you know, we got to pay attention to this and do it now with a sense of urgency. And police, whether right or wrong, we find ourselves in the middle of all these discussions. So why not use this as an opportunity to be a part of what we know is going to have to be fixed and changed moving forward, but make sure that we use our seat at the table to work towards the common goal of doing something good.
Even when labeled the enemy by some.
Police aren't bad. We're not the enemy. We're out there doing a lot more than we ever did in the community, and I think a lot of people see that and see the good.
But the things that divide us were not limited to civil or social issues. Political division was also as prevalent as at any time in my life and maybe yours. Something that came to a head locally, with Commissioner Al Schmidt continuing to receive death threats directed at him and his family just for doing his job, counting votes.
So much misinformation around this election. really made something that should be very mundane, which is counting votes. It's just simple arithmetic, into something that was very controversial.
And that's hard to deal with for people who still believe in the importance of political office.
We can't have a system where anybody I disagree with is the worst person in the world, or have a system where we don't share common facts. There are certain things that are issues in our society that if we're ever going to address, we have to at least agree on the problem.
So this is 2020, and if we're real, it hasn't been pretty. But maybe, in Reverend Waller's view, maybe it was necessary.
It's the gift of ugly truth, the gift of clarity, is all of it is a gift. You know, it's like being in a relationship when someone says something to you, you don't like what they said, but at least you know the truth. There's a gift in that.
Okay, so if the gift was received, now what?
It was not comfortable, is not comfortable, but we will be the better for it, should we choose to do something with it.
So that's how many of us view 2020. But what impact did it truly have? And more important, how will our current struggles shape our future?
Okay, so most of us agree that 2020 was filled with challenges, but it was interesting speaking to these individuals, seeing just how inspired and committed they are to making sure 2021 is actually better.
When there is not faith in that electoral system, I think it causes people to lose faith in representative government. And I think that's the biggest danger right now. And that's the part that I'm most concerned about and most hopeful that we can all sort of rally around fixing and rally around kind of healing.
It's not lost on me that people have lost their jobs. It is not lost on me that, you know, over 200,000 people have died. It is not lost on me that we are realizing all of the problems. But the pandemic didn't start any of the problems that we're talking about. They existed. And it has just brought them into focus where we can deal with them.
You know, hopefully that changes in 2021. Our officers are out doing a good job every day, making sure that they protect the community and themselves at the same time. You know, they have families also, so there's a lot to be thankful for, but you know, we're looking forward, hopefully, that there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
Now, it would be easy, and many have fallen victim in 2020 to just digging into our own beliefs and aligning with people who share them, but that's not the path to progress.
Challenging as this year has been, right? I don't see it as all gloom and doom. I see it as, you know what, we've ripped the Band-Aid off, we've ripped the scar off, it's time to heal. And now that we know what we know, what are we going to do about it?
You know, we're either going to rise together or fall together. I think this is a moment for us to actually rise together, to look at everything that this year has dished out, and to say that Pennsylvania is bigger, better, and more united in the face of this, and we're not going to turn on each other.
It's a mindset that is encouraging, but also surprising, because what dominates the headlines is how divided we appear. But that division, in a lot of circumstances, is leading to the difficult discussions.
So I think this is going to be a season for courageous conversations.
I don't believe that unity means uniformity of thought. Diversity of thought is a good thing, but we have to be at least rowing in the same direction. And I hope we get back to that, because as we, you know, have these partisan back and forths, there are people who can't wait.
And if done correctly, the discussions move past just the superficial and perhaps towards depth of understanding.
here to fund the police. That's not the way to go. And that the community doesn't want that. I mean, they don't want it. We see crime now.
But when I sit down and talk with folks that are speaking about defunding the police, what they're really talking about is making sure that those social services, or those who are responsible for addressing those social determinants that we all talk about, right, have the funding and the resources that they need to be successful and impactful.
So many of us are beginning to talk and cutting back on the yelling as we realize that ultimately it's what benefits us all.
Are you discouraged about us going into 2021 or confident about what we can be?
I'm not, only because we don't have a choice. I mean, there's no choice but to be better than we are right now.
All right, so we all acknowledge that 2020 was rough and we need to be better, but are we confident that we can in fact come together, heal, and progress into 2021?
You can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, move forward, and as far as working with the community, a lot of them things that they started this year during this pandemic are going to be around. They're not going to just go away. People are going to expect to see them next year and the year after. So we have to continue to work on that and do the things that we need to do and partner with the community.
Where we all needed to sit down to consider how we are doing what we are doing, who we are doing it with, why we are doing what we are doing. So I believe that this is a moment in time where if we don't sit down here, we're going to crash up yonder.
Hope paired with action was the theme when asked how we specifically make 2021 better.
We have to be willing to acknowledge that there's something wrong. I think we're there, right? And I'm also seeing a difference from when I first started here in February to where we are today, in that there's a lot more community acknowledgement of, you know what, we have a part in this.
I would like to think that all this difficulty that we've gone through this past year will benefit us down the road. I don't know if that's the case yet. I don't think anyone knows if that's the case yet. But frequently, progress comes about in history through very difficult times.
This is a real opportunity to see the pain that families are dealing with and recognize that that pain is universal, but so is the possibility for us to address these systemic issues.
And the ideas to make it better, they were plentiful and they were diverse.
Bring these shootings down. I mean, kids being shot at a record number. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see anybody shot, but nobody wants, I mean, kids, I mean, you know, we gotta, this stuff is, there's way too many guns on the streets.
It's just a matter of, you know, people being engaged and working together toward common goals, even if they disagree on how to get there.
These next 10 years, I think we're going to spend in reconstruction. We've got to build a brand new world that is pluralistic, that makes room for everybody.
Now, making room for everybody means sometimes hearing things that are hard or may initially seem personal.
I'm still a cop, regardless of where I'm from, right? I'm still a cop. And it doesn't mean that when I hear certain things or certain sentiments that I'm not a human being and I don't have a reaction. I just know that being defensive isn't helpful. I also know that at times being defensive can be tone deaf because it's not just about me.
But if we can talk, listen, and act, then maybe 2021 could be looking up.
We're going to win, but we're in the fight right now for our cultural, collective, and communal life. And we're going to win, and we're going to be better.
The ideas are there, and the desire to come together is there. But do we really believe we're ready to heal?
It's tough to figure out if the desire to heal and come together that we've been exploring is a little too optimistic after everything that we've seen in 2020. But the people we talk to don't think so. Not only do they want to be better, but they're ready to go get it.
We're slowly moving along, not just as a police department, but as a community and a culture, and acknowledging, okay, everything is all out in the open. We know what the issues are. We know where the inequities lie. This is your part, this is your part, this is your part. You're doing a little bit too much over here. This should be this person, and there's open and honest dialogue that's happening.
I mean, if we give up hope, then it's no point in doing any of this work, right? But hope doesn't mean you don't look the reality square in the face and understand what it's going to take. But hope is driven out of the fact that we know things have been tough before. And we know that people on whose shoulders we stand, they've had to look big obstacles in the face, and they had to find a way forward.
One by one, they expressed the outlook for 2021, and one by one, it was, at worst, cautiously optimistic.
We're willing to work with anybody. I'll never turn down a phone call or a meeting, but again, you have to treat our folks with some sort of respect.
We have no choice but to be hopeful. I don't think there's any good that comes from us, shrugging or throwing our hands up and walking away. It's difficult, right? This is a difficult time.
At best, some were actually looking forward to the challenge.
Believe what you believe, but make room for everybody and make room for all of humanity. That's the challenge of this season, but I believe we're up for it, and we are going to win. I believe it. We are going to win. I'm going to be an old man in a better world because I participated in the architecture.
And it's that type of optimism, but also commitment to doing the work, that may just be the path to making the struggles of 2020 the catalyst for real change.
We found ourselves in the middle of a movement. No one, at least I didn't think during my tenure, my professional tenure, maybe even during my lifetime, maybe my kids' lifetime, that I would find myself directly at the table, with a seat at the table of a national, or even what some people might say, an international civil rights movement. That's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal if we actually do something with it. From civil unrest to a pandemic, economic to political struggles. Coming up, we'll give everyone one more chance to share their biggest takeaways from this exploration of how to heal.
So perhaps these conversations have given you a different view, not only of 2020, but also of the newsmakers that we've been speaking to. So let's give them one more chance to express their key thoughts and the things they're looking forward to as we head into the next year.
On a 1 to 10, I'm at a 5. I'm in the middle. I'm hoping that we see we can move forward and get back to some sort of normalcy.
When we recognize it's not about Democrats winning or Republican winning, it's about whether or not Pennsylvania families win, then we don't have to be united in everything. But if we're united in a goal, we can always debate how to get to that goal.
If it's all gloom and doom, if it's all woe is me, if it's all, if we're all walking around here like Eeyore, we're just gonna be sad people. And we won't come out with the optimism that we need to have to move through what we've just experienced in 2020 and heal.
The fact that people are so isolated from one another right now is probably not a good thing. It's probably a bad thing. People drawing information from sources that are completely unreliable is certainly not a good thing. I think that loss of communication with one another is something that hasn't served us well. And hopefully in 2021 and moving forward, that can change.
If I were to be churchy, I would say you can praise and be raised, or you can complain and remain. And so I choose to praise and be raised. I choose to thank God for this moment, accept the good with the bad, the rain with the sunshine, and get out of here. Or we can just sort of complain about everything and remain in it.
Listen, there's no sugarcoating it. 2020 has been rough. But as the quote says, it's always darkest before the dawn. So let's try to remember that, come together and emerge in a better place. I'm Bill Anderson. On behalf of everyone who came together to make this special, thanks for watching.